me before I can even say anything decent. He's gonna.
Welcome to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that
had a beard and nipples. I expected that to go, and that's why we'll never be monetized. Welcome in to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast.
Welcome to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that
had a beard and nipples. All right.
It's every time.
Why did we give this man control?
At this point, I don't even care. What is going on, good people? Which is about the state of my mindset at this point. What is going on, good people? DJ here. Justin is over there. Adam, Casey as well. They're all here. The whole crew is here. Don't ask about the names. Don't ask about the intro. Just you had to be there. You had to be there to understand. It's kind of like the New Day under the table. Like you got to be there to understand why it was a thing, and then it's not a thing. So,
I don't even know how I came up with that.
You never remember how you came up with that.
Why is Justin nipples? Justin isn't nipples. I'm nipples.
I should be and. Okay. I need to change the and. Okay.
There are plenty of reasons why we can't have nice things, and this
Adam
continues to be. I was about to say, I love how Justin doesn't change his name. Like that's the funny part to me. But anyway, so kind of piggybacking on our last, I think it was our last episode, or what's the episode before that? We talked about Triple H taking over creative. What does that mean? We've seen a couple episodes. We've of Raw and SmackDown at least, and I haven't really watched NXT much, but it seems like it's doing pretty decent. But I've seen a lot of different thought processes when it comes to this whole thing. Somebody had actually sent me a text, ironically enough. I think this kind of shows you how well Triple H books a show, but also like kind of his legacy in terms of looking at a show, even the small sample size that we may have had with NXT. One of my friends had texted me and he was like, "Are you watching Raw tonight?" And I was like, "Probably not," because who's watching Raw?
Raw's Raw,
right? So I was like, "Probably not." He was like, "You got to watch it. It's the Triple H era. The Triple H era has begun." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to try to tune in." I did tune in for most of it, much as I could at least. I didn't get a chance to finish all of it, but I watched the back end of it. I watched a couple of segments here and there. I saw some of the returns. That was all fine and dandy. But I feel like it seems like it's a step in the right direction. It feels like it's getting better to me, even in the little bit of time that we've had. We're seeing people return. We're seeing guys who were disgruntled come back. We're seeing / hearing reports of guys going back to characters where they actually were successful and not characters that are absolutely ridiculous. For example, I've heard reports of Butch going back to Pete Dunne. I've heard reports of Max Dupree
go back to LA Knight.
So there's
also Ezekiel going back to Elias.
Elias, yeah. So
you have to grow that damn beard.
I know he's got to really work. Like they're gonna have to take him off TV for 6 months.
I was surprised that Karen Cross has all the hair.
How could Ezekiel go back to Elias when they're two different people?
You shut the fuck up.
It's terrible. This man. This is why we can't have nice things.
By the way, I actually kind of don't mind Cross with the hair. I think at least it freshens him up a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dig it.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I was talking to Justin yesterday, and I was like, I wonder if they're gonna make Cross cut his hair. Just because that's what he had done before. That's what he's always done. He's never been, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's he didn't want to grow it out. He's just used to having it shaved. I wasn't sure, but then of course he left and grew it out and whatnot. But it makes me wonder, like, are they going to have him keep the hair? What are they going to do? I'm sure they will. I don't think they're just going to have him shave it just to keep up whatever. Like, it doesn't change the mystique of the character, I don't think. But I mean,
nobody will notice, pal.
But if any of you guys have watched Raw, SmackDown, NXT, etc., have you seen any changes? Have you even with if you've seen clips, like you've seen people return, you've seen the way people have been booked. Has anybody really seen any changes with anything? Anybody seen anything that they've been like, okay, this is a good, at least it feels like a step in the right direction?
It seems like they're starting to have more wrestling on the shows, like especially on Raw. Like I feel
Oh,
like
they even say it. Oh.
they even say wrestling like on commentary, which is Michael Cole's been able to say that, which is very surprising. But no, I feel like it has been better as of recent, ever since the little sprinkles that Triple H has shown, like towards the end of the show, which is smart to like have your surprises at the end of the show, like with Karrion Kross. I thought this was going to take some time to have some people starting to return because Rome wasn't built in a day, but now
But
that
Roman was. Oh, sorry.
but Roman was. I mean, this is true. But like it's nice to see that.
Can I ask you a question? Is that the only like line
This is true.
What, Rome wasn't built in a day? That's
Yes.
That's his signature line. Like I got to redo the intro and put in.
Is that your classic cliche?
No, my classic cliche is what is it? I like that scheme of things.
He's gonna look up what the word cliche means.
What's that mean? What's that mean? No, but as you see, people returning, like you see that Triple H's vision is starting to like come into fruition, like with his creative ideas, which is nice. And seeing having Dexter Lumis come back, with the whole car crash, that's pretty interesting stuff. See who's behind like all that storyline there. So, yeah, I mean, Raw and SmackDown has been improving, with what we've been seeing a little bit.
Okay. Has Adam? I know Adam and Casey aren't necessarily the Raw and SmackDown watchers per se, but have you guys seen anything that's been making you feel like, maybe there has been a changing of the guard, or is it too soon? Because I mean, I listened to I was listening to Cornette talk about it, and he was talking about how everybody's kind of like, oh, you got to watch it, kind of like my friend had told me, you got to watch it, but at the same time, like even me, I'm kind of like, let's give it a chance to, grow and develop too.
I think that's the key. You have to let it grow and develop. I mean, you could get, the best franchise quarterback, but you're not going to win the Super Bowl week 1. It takes a while. You got to work up to it. Yes, there have been good changes. Yes, there have been returns, which is cool. But they could end up flopping, and it could be the same crap we had with Vince. We don't 100% know that it's going to be different. We hope it is. We think it's going to be, but until we actually see it play out, I think people. What's that old saying? You can't put the wagon before the horse, or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think people are getting way
because Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly.
Hey, you shut up over there. That's my line.
But yeah, you gotta like slow it down. I do like, and I really hope they continue to do this, because I really like. I got to watch bits and pieces of Raw, but I saw this. I like how they had little Easter eggs, like in the back of like promos and interviews and stuff. Like with when they was asking Kevin Owens about what he did earlier. You saw the car crash in the background. Then later on, you saw security run past Alexa Bliss and them, and then it builds up to it. It's Dexter Lumis. I like that. It makes you kind of yes, I'm watching this interview with Kevin Owens, but I'm also noticing, oh, that's Doudrop and Nikki ASH. Okay, what's going on back there? Oh, security just ran by Alexa Bliss. What's going on there? Like you're focused on what you're supposed to focus on, but also you're kind of seeing a little bit of something else, and you're like, okay, what is that? So I hope they continue to do that, because I kind of like stuff like that. I like little Easter eggs that kind of build up to something at the end of the show, or the following week or whatever, just to kind of get you kind of curious about things.
Leave you have you want more, basically.
That's what I said, bitch.
Okay. Adam,
Jesus God,
I'm sorry. That was.
Adam, do you have any?
he was. I think he was just agreeing with what you were saying. Anyway,
I don't
but
like when you agree with me because the Chiefs fan. Unless you
Okay,
want
then.
to be a Colts fan when it's convenient.
you're a
Never.
fan of fucking 31 teams, for God's sake.
He's a fan. What's that team like with the Dolphins and the Raiders and the Colts? Like, what's that? And guy at Jacksonville in there?
It's the Cray Dolphins. They're
The
one
Great
team.
The Great Dolphins. They're coming this year. They're coming.
Easy,
Don't
easy,
say it.
Tiger. Easy, Tiger.
Don't say it like that.
Hey,
That's
pause.
what I'm saying.
That's going to end up on TikTok.
Because Rome didn't come in a day. So,
But Roman did.
It's
God,
it's some of the things that I say that end up on TikTok. Let's be honest, guys.
Well, this is true. Beard and nipples. No, to go along with what Casey was saying, and DJ, what you said too about what Cornette said. I mean, he said, and I partially agree, just because again, I used to get up the next day and watch the Hulu version of the condensed hour-and-a-half version of Raw. It was palatable. But since then, has been nothing that got me interested. Like, I may stumble across something on Twitter or something. I'm like, okay, I'll YouTube it or whatever, but I don't actively seek out the entire episode of whether it be Raw or SmackDown. Since the changes, if we want to call it that, since everything's been happening the last couple of weeks, they're at least interesting, which I think is the first seed that needed to be planted. But like what Cornette said, he goes, it's still kind of an abysmal format per se, but little by little, they're not just unloading the change all at once. They're at least starting to input some things that are a little tip of the cap to like the Attitude Era, to where, yeah, it is kind of phony, but the way the shows have been the last few years, it's at least different. Like with the car crash and all that stuff, like everybody's is where they're supposed to be. What I want to know too is, are they going to let guys actually look into the camera during a backstage segment? Because that's the other thing, because that was the big thing with Vince is, it looks too phony if you look directly into the camera. Well, who are you trying to appeal to? Right. Guys, when they do promos, they look dead into the camera. It's because they're talking to the fans and or the opponent. Anyway.
Also, speaking of doing promos, it seems like Triple H has given him like more freedom, which is a good and a bad thing, because if you're not very good on the mic, you might need to have your promo a little more written for you. But they need to like stick to their bullet points and like don't go way off the script there.
Well, that's all anybody has been saying since they've been public. We understand the game. No pun intended. We understand the game. We understand like the public image that they want to keep. They don't want to upset sponsors and blah. That old raw sewage. But you can still convey your message, and it doesn't have to be fuckity fuck. And like in AEW, when they can say shit, piss, fuck, blah blah blah, pussy, all this stuff. Yeah, but seriously. Not to mention, everyone's like, ooh, it's cutting edge. It doesn't mean anything when everybody can say it. You paid attention when Steve Austin or The Rock said it. But when everybody does it, it's not special. Mm-hmm. So when Brock Lesnar says, I'm going to kick the shit out of you, and they bleep it, that gets a reaction.
Or something like that.
So I'm just saying, like you can. Kevin Nash had said that you'd be really surprised if you actually let these guys. Now, granted, this is about 4 or 5 years ago, but he said if you actually let these guys be themselves, or at least give them the opportunity to convey their message. They can do it in a way that's not going to upset the sponsor. It's not going to upset the network. But even in that type of saturated environment, how do you grow? How do you grow, and how does that get anybody excited? So, like, that's why I said from the word go, this can't hurt. This can't hurt. You got to at least attempt it.
Yeah. So my next question for you guys, the audience, anybody watching, who benefits the most, whether it be a superstar or
One quick thing that I think they need, and I'm pretty sure most of you here on the show and watching would probably agree. And Triple H kind of teased this a little bit in interviews. They need to bring Raw down to 2 hours. I understand that third hour brings a lot of money. I get that. But you are a multi-billion-dollar company anyway. You're still going to make money. We're dead by the third hour. We don't care anymore. We're not retaining anything after the third hour. We're really not. Cut it down to 2 hours, and you'll get so much more out of 2 hours than you did 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now, being that you make so much money, to your point, Casey, it's like now you're making that money. So why use that money and now invest that into a better product? As much as SmackDown is not so much better, but definitely is better than Raw, whatever, that there's still not gangbusters ratings wise. I mean, they're reaching about the average amount that you would get for for a major network to distribute you. But I mean, yeah, what's the harm? What do you have to lose?
Also, apparently, USA is upset that they haven't had a world champion on that show for a while. So apparently, they're talking about the splits. They're talking about splitting the titles apart, which I wouldn't.
Well, that's why they had Roman on both shows.
Yeah, but Roman, he's been a part-timer as of late. I mean, he's been more on SmackDown, but like he hasn't been on Raw as of late.
Well, I mean, it's tough though too, because here's the thing. We go back and forth on this about overexposing people, and that's the thing about being world champion. You're going to get overexposed to a point, but it's just like, kind of like Adam always says, I can't miss you if you don't go away. Like, I'm not saying they need to make him permanently a part-timer, but every once in a while, if they're going to take him off TV.
Welcome to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that
my bad, bumped it.
He bumped it.
But anyway, Adam, whatever you were saying.
No, but that was just pretty much the basis of it. But I understand USA being ticked off about that, but I think they also understand of what is being done with Roman, because he's doing the best work of his career the last 2.5 years. You can't split away from that, and plus, with minus a few guys on SmackDown, I mean, who on Raw can you see dethroning him? You just had that program with Brock, but like I said, they were kind of morphing in between shows, which is again why the brand split kills me. But so that's my thing, is it's like they can't split it just yet. They got to get somebody ready. They either have to get
they got to build new stars.
They either got to get somebody ready, or you got to come up with a creative way for Theory to cash in. Have him beat Roman in some weird, fuck finish type of thing. But then Paul can, Heyman can come out and say, now this was only for one title. This is really for one title, and you got to choose. Is it going to be for Raw or is it going to be for SmackDown? Blah, blah, blah.
See, now I was thinking of a way to split the titles, like maybe doing like a 2 out of 3 falls match. Like maybe one fall be for like the WWE title. Go ahead.
I still don't like the idea of splitting the titles. I don't. I've never liked it because I feel like
True.
anytime you've split the titles, one of them feels less important. And like it's
Yep.
like and it's for one company. It's not like it's two companies, right? So which one is really your world title? Which one is really your main title? Which one is really the top title? They can't both be. It just doesn't work like that. It just one of them is
Double main
always
event.
one of them is always going to feel more important than the other, just how they're booked.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to put both of them to feel the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn,
Yeah.
Casey, we've heard your suggestion. I've got an idea. We're going to create the Intergalactic Planetary title.
Well, and I've said this before too. I'm all for both. If they're like, I'm good with splitting the titles up if you're gonna book them in a way that makes logical sense. But at the same time, I think having one world champion is an excellent way to, once again, let's build back up the Intercontinental Championship. Let's build back up the U.S. title. As like, if you have the right person in the proper position, you're good. Like you don't necessarily need a world title on both shows. That's a perfect time for you to act like the Intercontinental Championship is also something to worth being held. Same thing with the U.S. title or something like that. And that's kind of like always been my issue with the brand split to begin with, is why even have two titles when you can make one show special by having all the women on one show, or having the cruiserweights on one show, the women on the other show.
The king of the cruiserweight.
Going back to this, it's a great time to keep the world title on one show, and then, I mean, put the Intercontinental Championship on somebody who's worth a darn. Not this. I don't know who's the Intercontinental
Gunther.
Champion.
It's Gunther. I was about to say.
No,
Like,
and I'm not saying
what you trying to say.
And I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that Gunther's not good. But I'm
Nakamura,
saying
he's
you have
going up
to, you
against
have to
Gunther.
build him in a way so people feel like, okay, the Intercontinental Championship, that's that championship too. Like, that's worth me turning on Raw every week to see, just as much as the world title is on SmackDown, or vice versa.
Well, and what I would do, because these guys are traveling 300 some days a year anyway, right? So put your world champion on Raw and SmackDown. Doesn't mean they have to have matches on both shows every week, but they can be there for a segment, for a promo, for whatever. And then, the network can't really complain because the champ's there. You're seeing the champ, but also, and I'm sure Adam can back me up on this, because the other two are young little pipsqueaks, little whippersnappers. I remember growing up, especially in the 90s, there were times where the Intercontinental title felt as important, if not in some situations more important than the world title, because it was the workhorse title. It meant something. It was that stepping stone to the WWF Championship or the WWE Championship. It actually it was the title.
What was SummerSlam 2?
We can't understand. You're glitching out a little bit.
The robot's back.
Well, we couldn't get rid of Vince that quick because now we got the robot, Mr. Robot.
We got the general manager back, the computer general manager.
And have your attention, please.
There we go. That's better. What were you saying?
You just had to lead with that.
Should I?
Maybe we need like the ringtone too. Like, maybe that's the issue.
I think we need We need to mute Justin. I think that's what it is.
It's usually Justin. It's usually Justin. What's going on with Justin right now?
I'm
Don't
marking
say
out.
don't say anything.
I can't
'cause
say.
some
I
people
don't want to be
haven't
the human
watched
spoil
Dynamite.
machine.
So don't say anything. Anyway,
I'm curious. Anyway, what were you saying?
I'm actually in Wi-Fi now in the office. This pisses me off.
Now you sound good. You sound great. What were you saying?
You sound like $1 million.
Great, even.
Do I sound like I'm an old-time radio? Anyway, what I was saying was, what closed SummerSlam 92?
I believe that was the Intercontinental.
I wasn't alive, so I don't remember.
Who were the participants?
Was it the Bulldog?
And
Didn't you just retro review this, Justin?
I did 1990.
Oh,
1990 is criminally underrated.
1990.
90 has one of my favorite tag matches of all time, Hard Foundation.
The Hard Foundation. That was a very good match.
Was the Demolition with a great fuck finish. But let me just say this before I go on, since now you're going into my wheelhouse of nerdom. How in the blue hell can you have a group that is doing the Freebird rule where they're the tag champs, but either maturation can be the tag champs? You had Axe, Smash, and Crush, all of them who look nothing alike, and they did the infamous switcheroo. Axe has shorter hair than Smash, and they're like, "Oh my God, who is this?" And Crush is 6'8". Sorry, just got to get that out of there. But no, SummerSlam 92, it was Brett and Bulldog, and that closed the show. And that is an impeccable, fantastic match. But there was a story to it, is that they're both baby faces to everybody else, but it was England. So Bulldog was the one that was massively over. And Brett, to his credit, always had like a heel vibe to the way he worked anyway, so it worked. But going with what Casey said, whatever, though, those matches meant more. It may not been the reason that you bought a ticket, but you left that arena remembering that match. Still the best match, one of the best matches I've ever seen. It's a toss-up between this match and Ciampa and Gargano 2. But Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. That's one of the first matches early on that I got like an emotional reaction to a finish. Like I was actually choked up with tears of joy of watching Brett win. It was a beautiful fucking match. Anybody hasn't seen it, go watch it. SummerSlam 1991 at the Garden.
Yeah, I just actually watched that match. That was a very good match.
That's incredible. Incredible.
Okay. So who do you guys think kind of benefits more in kind of a fast, what is it? Fast rifle? No. What's the word? What's the game show term for quickly? I can't think of it. Dang it. Rapid finish.
Who's going straight to the moon quick?
Well, no, but I just overall, I mean, I think it's everybody as a whole, the fans, the talent, the talent that it could actually. They're still not going to make them seem like, oh, now we get to do like everything that they do in AEW. No, it's not that. It's just that now you're able to tell a story and actually being able to flush it out. Mm-hmm. And not just speedball through it after 2 weeks and nobody cares. Maybe this is the beginning stages of them actually doing. And in this day and age, I think we have to curve the term long-term storytelling, because before you needed a 3, 6, 9 month story arc and how you were going to progress. Now you have to look at it, like maybe a month. But even then, that's way better than just, oh, they had this incident at a house show a few days ago. Boom. Now they're going to have a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
That's not the point. So ultimately, I just think like it benefits the product as a whole. Now we have to see, like we said, we have to see how this progresses. There's been a couple of good weeks, and that first show they did where it was a Vinceless Raw. It did like the best rating they've done in 2.5 years. Granted, petty theft, but just the automatic intrigue was there of, okay, let's see how this is going to look now.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got to give it a little time. It doesn't solve the issue just yet, but it's a good start.
Yeah. And I think too, sorry, Casey, you want to go ahead first?
I was just gonna say, I just want, for the love of God, can we stop calling it the WWE Universe? I've hated that term since day one.
I've heard that's something that they are doing away with.
I mean, Cole said fans at SummerSlam, like he said, FANS.
Yeah, that's one thing I since the day they started, I hated it, because it's like, yes, I get it. You're the biggest fish in the pond, but come on, it's
Yeah. Well, and I think too. Adam, you kind of stole my answer. I wish I would have went first. I was gonna say the fans, because of course, I think my personal belief is that Triple H booked probably the best 2-3 years of not only just wrestling but just WWE in general when he booked NXT a couple years ago. So I think, piggybacking off of that, of course, it's not going to be a carbon copy or anything, but knowing his expertise, knowing what he does, knowing he's passionate about it, and knowing that he knows, all sides of the business, and also he's kind of dipped his toes in a little bit of everything, right? He dipped him in the jacuzzi, he dipped him in the kiddie pool.
Wait. I gotta say this real quick, because you mentioned Triple H. I apologize. Meltzer said Triple H, this is a good starting point, but it's because he had beginner's luck.
sorry, what?
I just don't.
So the guy that's been wrestling, that was wrestling for 35 years, and to DJ's point, booked arguably the best wrestling show on the planet, solid for 5 years. Excuse me.
So, but and I guess that the funny part about this, and the ironic, the irony in it is, wouldn't Tony Khan's Booker of the Year thing that little run he's had going on, wouldn't that be beginner's luck because Tony Khan hasn't booked a show in his life?
Well, because they don't
wrestle much less.
Now that's what happens when you talk to Dave on a routine basis. You get covered properly, but that's what it is. It's to put the spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, also, he has the Bucks, and they've been wrestling for a quarter of Triple H's career, but they know everything.
Please no,
Kenny.
Please no.
By God, Omega.
But
we don't talk about Kenny Omega on this show because he doesn't understand basic psychology. He has lost his privilege to be a professional wrestler.
But honestly, I think the fans benefit the most. I think there's a lot of talent that benefits from this, but I think the fans benefit because I think the fans have been putting up with it for the longest.
Wait, 3-man band's coming back?
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, no, that's a song.
The fans have been putting up with this for the longest, like this wishy-washy, iffy. I mean, there's no good way to say it. Booking that WWE's been going through with the main roster, and I think the fans, like the breath of fresh air that NXT gave WWE, not only WWE but just like wrestling in general. It felt like, especially
the business
WWE
as a whole, absolutely.
Yeah, like the breath of fresh air that gave wrestling was huge. So now to even see even I mean, we've talked about it before. Like, if you put consistent booking, star power, and the reach that WWE has, I mean that's a big deal within itself. Like, just those three things are huge for WWE, and it's tough, and it goes back to it. WWE has always been trying to cater to like the casual fan
casuals, yeah.
in a way, right? And that's hard because on one hand, yes, the hardcore fan's going to stay with you regardless, probably more than likely, right? But at the same time, the hardcore fan is probably what makes you more money than the casual fan. Like the casual fan puts you over the top, but puts you straight to the moon, as they say. But I feel but the hardcore like there has to be a fine balance, and I think NXT gave a little bit more of a fine balance. There's a lot of people, and I say this a lot, and I think it's a credit to Triple H's booking, because of the reach of WWE as well. There was a lot of people that had checked out of wrestling, wasn't watching it for years and years, like since like beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era, and NXT popped up on their screen, and they saw something they liked, and that turned them back on to watching wrestling again. Like I literally know these people. Like they were like they just had no interest in it.
It was enough sports entertainment that you're like, okay, I get it's WWE, but there was enough of wrestling that it was something you could sink your teeth into. Storyline, great matches. They didn't go over the top with the promos because they let the guys that could talk, they let talk, but they had to let guys go out there and at least, get their feet wet per se. But the best part was it was the most digestible program because it was only an hour.
Yes. And at the end of the show, it leave you had you wanting more.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
And that's what I'm saying now, and this is my last point because I've been rambling. Like my thing is, you put that with the star power of guys like Randy Orton, AJ Styles, these guys who have not only like made their name, but people want to see Shinsuke Nakamura and these guys, like the potential that's there. I know Cesaro's over there in AEW, but another guy who I feel like the potential's always been there, but we just haven't been able to actually freaking see it.
Absolutely criminal.
So that's kind of my thing. Like, I'm hoping to see, because of the guys that they have right now in WWE. I mean, they have a really talented roster, but you have to use those guys. Gunther is another one who you can establish as this just ridiculous beast. Like, and I hope they do. I hope they're on their way, especially with Triple H booking it now. I hope they're well on their way. LA Knight, guys like that, like these newer guys that probably some of these guys don't necessarily know. Some of these casual fans or WWE fans, I guess you could say, don't actually know, but like have all the talent in the world, just have to be, put in front of our faces to actually in a actual positive light.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think I don't want to be like negative toward fans. I mean, I kind of do.
Well, I mean, he is a Colts fan, so he's kind of used to it.
Ooh.
Especially those games against Jacksonville.
Listen, this isn't a football podcast. This is a wrestling show.
We still do football stuff on here.
Shut up. This is a wrestling show. Anyway, I think, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if there is a downfall, I think it will be because of the fans. And you mentioned, I think all of us mentioned NXT, right? I think, and I hope fans don't do this. I hope they don't get this super, super high expectation that it's going to be exactly like NXT was. Because then if it's anything lower than what they expect, and we know fans are like this, because we've been like this in the past, they're going to be like, oh, this is just like Vince, this is just like when it was with Vince, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's changed. I'm not going to watch this anymore. Because fans can be like that, and they have been like that. So you really have to give it the chance. You can't just be like, oh, it's not immediately as good as NXT was or better than NXT was. It might not be, because NXT was specials. NXT was something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you're going to get that back again.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to say this, but NXT was so darn special that all these complaints I'm hearing about Johnny Gargano, I didn't hear before. All these complaints I'm hearing about Adam Cole, I didn't hear before, right? So NXT was that darn good in terms of just the booking and making these guys, and they, of course, they were stars, but just continue to just elevate them that much more. So, I mean, I think that was an excellent point. Special, I think, is the best way to put that. Justin, you were saying?
Was I saying anything? I don't remember.
Maybe you weren't. I don't know.
I don't think I was saying anything, but actually, well, as I'm talking right now, I kind of do want to say some stuff. And also, they don't need to do. I don't know who said this. Maybe it was Adam or maybe Casey. I don't know. One of you guys said something that they don't need to.
I love how every time that somebody has said something, it's never me. It's never me. Why? Why?
Because you didn't say what we said.
I mean,
if you would say the things that we were thinking or said, then we would put you over more.
But they said,
are you the only host that does the JOB constantly?
Yes.
But one of you guys were saying that they don't need to have like that same wrestler wrestling every week, or like they don't need to have the same match every single week. Like
it definitely wasn't DJ. DJ did not say that.
No, yeah, that wasn't DJ. I think that was you, Casey, who said that. Maybe.
Don't give him any credit. He deserves nothing.
But like have some fresh.
We both can all agree. We all can agree. It was definitely not DJ.
It wasn't DJ. It wasn't DJ.
It wasn't me.
But it should have been.
Because of like how we had with Vince McMahon, how we always had repeat matches every single week, and then when it got to like pay-per-views, like it wasn't special to see. So maybe, with having Triple H in charge, and also, Vince, he was getting up, he was up there in age, and he was forgetting what he booked 2 weeks ago. He goes like, no, we just did that a couple weeks ago, and Vince was getting senile, getting up there in age.
He was getting Cena?
No, he's getting senile. I think that's the word I'm looking for. But having like fresh fresh mashups.
Matchups. Mashed potatoes?
Yeah, mashed potatoes. You gotta have the mashed potatoes.
The mix match challenge?
Yes.
Mishmash.
Say
And
that
also-
10 times fast.
And also, I made a kind of like a list of like 5 guys who I think could benefit from having Triple H in charge.
You just made the list.
Not Jericho. Not Jericho. So I have Shinsuke Nakamura at number 5.
Shinsuke.
I got Shayna Baszler, Ricochet, or Rick O'Shea.
Ricocket.
Kevin Owens, and Tommaso Ciampa. And then I also had like an honorable mention, which was Sami Zayn.
But like, looked good on Monday. Finally.
And also, Shayna Baszler is getting a shot at the SmackDown Women's title. She won the Women's match.
Sammy was already fine because he re-signed a new contract. That's why he's doing all this goofy stuff. He's set. Same thing with Kevin Owens. He signed a 7-figure deal. But
speaking of, Kevin Owens is another one.
But my thing is like unless Triple H can unring the bell per se of how he's been perceived. Like he's still good. The scripted stuff that's given to him, he still has enough of talent to actually make it sound like it's his own.
You talking about Kevin Owens?
Yes. And again, like I don't mind what Sammy's been doing, even though, like I said, like I wasn't a fan of the Johnny Knoxville match, but that's
that was so entertaining.
We've gone through that, but my thing is like ultimately, if you had to, in terms of the talent, you had to single anybody out. To me, Karrion Kross benefits the most because he's getting the full package of what we saw in NXT, him and Scarlett. And I think he's the only one. I wouldn't just do it just because he's back right now, but give it time. I think he's the one to dethrone Roman.
I think Cody.
Or Cody. And that's the other thing we haven't thought about. God, I didn't even think about that. Like when Cody comes back, this benefits him greatly. Because I do think Triple H will let him have all the pomp and circumstance of his entrance, but at the big shows, not do the, elevation from beneath the stage every single week. That was getting a little tiresome in AEW. But one thing, and Justin brought it up, definitely not DJ, but but one thing that, like, the business needs to go like this. It's always it can't go like this. Up here, top guys wrestle top guys. You may every once in a while get a schlub that gets elevated somehow. Middle card guys wrestle middle card guys, and the opener or the bottom tier guys, you may see them on main event. What if you have a guy that you've built, maybe he's the IC champ, and maybe you get him into a title shot, whatever, then he wins or loses. After that, boom, they got to start. You got to re-elevate them.
Well,
even if you get them back to the middle card, they at least stay relevant, but they're not just overstaying their welcome in the fans' eyes. It's like, okay, we've seen them there. Let's try something different.
Well, and also to kind of piggyback off of that, the quote unquote curtain jerker.
By the way, my name is not DJ.
It's not. But the quote unquote curtain jerkers and then the mid card guys oftentimes are the best wrestlers on the card, and they're in those spots for a specific reason. You want to open the show, with a bang. When you get to the middle of the show, you want to re-energize your fans so they can make it to the main event, but not overdo it. So you have to have guys who know, how much to give and not to exhaust the fans, but get them pumped for the next part of the show. So those guys don't get nearly enough, respect that they deserve. So they definitely need to get what they deserve. And again, bring the importance of the IC and the US title back.
Bring back the X Division.
Bring back the Cruiserweight Championship.
Any final thoughts, anyone?
Not another title. Jesus.
No. Get rid of the 24/7 Championship because that title's so corny. But it'd be funny if.
But make sure R-Truth retires it.
Yes.
But
yes.
The bloodline, they're saying if Sami Zayn doesn't win a title, he's out of the group. So put the 24/7 Championship on the Sami Zayn. Because he would make the title so entertaining.
Oh, damn. I thought this was the Intercontinental title.
R-Truth. No.
My bad.
I thought
Jimmy.
I thought this was a ladder match.
So as always, you can watch us Facebook, YouTube. You can listen to us Spotify, Apple Podcast. Just Google us. We are Googleable everywhere that Google will take you.
And if you go to Google, you will find no quotes from DJ.
Yes, that is facts. And
you gotta find that on the TikTok.
Yes, yeah, you will find all my quotes are on TikTok, obviously. But
and what's that quote again?
As always,
I believe it's something like,
Welcome to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that
had a beard and nipples. And I didn't say
this is why we're a good team. I teed it up for you and you knocked it out of the park.
I did, and for the record, I didn't say anyway.
What you said was,
Welcome to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that
had a beard and nipples.
I'm sorry, DJ. I can't help you out there.
Forget y'all. And Casey, shoosh. Until next time.